All right, so bad news. My cancer is back. Let's see, for background. So usually when things are really overwhelming, I kind of go concrete sequential, just to make sense of things. In this case, there's not a whole lot of sense to be made, but in December of 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 3 invasive, I think it was ductal and lobular, I can't remember exactly. Anyways, breast carcinoma, so cancer. And it was right on the heels of a deployment. I spent about 7 months in Afghanistan, doing things that I never thought I would have the opportunity nor the responsibility to do. And hi, Chloe. I'm in bed, so my dogs are they just ate. So anyways, yeah, diagnosed in 2020, went through chemo January to May of 2020, had a right mastectomy in July of 2020, signed on a new house, had radiation August to September of 2020, and then got my clean scans around that time, like September to December was around the time I considered myself to be cancer-free. And then the next year I did a left mastectomy. Just thought, well, cancer's behind me, and now I want to just move forward and not have to do as few scans as necessary. And I knew that, a mammogram on the right wasn't going to be necessary because I didn't have any breast tissue. And so I opted to there's Chloe, to do the delayed contralateral mastectomy as well. So did that in November of 21. Then, and I moved into this house in December of 2020. So the same month that I, was considered cancer-free, I moved into a house by myself. During that time, since then, I've adopted Roxy, who's right over here, and she's just fabulous. More on her later. And August of 2022, I started, just a month after my 40th birthday, I started the deep flap reconstruction, and that took about a year, I would say, just over a year from start to finish. I had one more minor step, which was nipple tattoos, to get coloring and all that, nipple reconstruction, and had an appointment in December with someone in New York and canceled because I was traveling way too much. I traveled a lot for work the year of 2023, or 22 to 23. Traveled a lot for work, traveled a lot for fun. Really kind of just lived it up. And I felt really, really good. And then let's see, where was I? So yeah, I was doing really well. And then I went to a military training school for like I guess 5 or 6 weeks in Mississippi, and got home in December, spent a wonderful weekend in New Orleans on the way home. It was great. And then a few weeks after I got home, like towards the end of December, I want to say, and into January, my hip started hurting, my right hip. And I thought that it was like a sports injury or something like that, because I was doing all kinds of stuff that, I normally didn't do very often, like volleyball and things like that, running on the beach and stuff like that. So thought, maybe I just overdid it. And then, of course, driving from Mississippi to Denver, it's a long drive. And so I thought maybe like being in that seated position was just not great, the immobility for my hip. Anyways, and I had issues with this hip before. I'd had an impingement. I tore my TFL, and I had all kinds of stuff with that right hip anyways. So I thought, maybe it's just a sports injury, orthopedic injury. So it got so bad. And then, because it was like a pulling in the front of my hip, the anterior pelvis. And so I thought, again, sports injury. And so I did some stretches, some physical therapy stuff that I had done in the past that worked. And that worked to clear that up. But then the bone started hurting. And I thought, like the joint itself. And so I thought, maybe it's, arthritis, whatever. I had a relatively active lifestyle and carried some heavy things throughout my career and stuff, and thought, well, maybe it's a combination of age, a combination of occupational hazards, inactivity, whatever. I just thought I knew what it was. And then the bone started hurting. Chloe's just so funny. And then my femur started hurting, like to the point where it was just not controllable. The pain was uncontrollable, and I was limping, and it got really bad over the course of a few weeks, or a couple weeks. It wasn't really that long. So then I ended up in the ER. It was over Martin Luther King Day weekend. Because I knew it was a long weekend. I had a 4-day weekend, and it was Saturday, and I was like, listen, called the nurse line and said, I think I need to go to the ER. And I remember breaking down on the phone a little bit, because I had started to worry, and I had convinced myself that it was in my bones, that I had cancer in my bones. And so anyways, I went to the ER. They loaded me with pain meds, and I can't remember what they gave me, but they did an x-ray, and the x-ray came back fine. The ER doc, it was funny. He said, I see you limping, and you'll see me limp too, and that the way that I'm walking is the walk of someone who's going to have hip replacement surgery in 2 weeks or something. I don't know, next week, whatever. He said something, and at the time I was like, okay. And I still don't want to waste energy thinking about, was he telling me that my issue is nothing compared to his? I don't know. And then, I've had doctors tell me, oh, you say you have back pain because you're old. And I'm like, I'm not saying I'm old. I'm just saying I'm 40, and I have been in the military for a while, and, it's notorious for back problems. So I never, looking back, I guess maybe I should have wondered. I don't know. Can't change the past, and I am where I am. So x-ray showed nothing, and my PCM, my military doctor, fantastic relationship with him. He is wonderful. He's been incredibly awesome. My first one was great. I still keep in touch with him, actually, occasionally here and there. And then my current PCM has been fantastic also. So 0 complaints there. But he ordered an MRI. It was kind of one of those with your history situations, and I've heard that countless times. But it's true. With my history, it was smart to order an MRI, and so I did that on a Tuesday. And Wednesday, I want to say late morning, he called my PCM. He called and said, well, I really hate to tell you this over the phone, but I really wanted you to hear it right away. They found lesions across your pelvis and in your right femur that are concerning for metastatic disease. And so I was completely floored and shocked, surprised. And as much as I had convinced myself that I had cancer in my bones, I was saying bone cancer at the time, but that might be a whole other conversation. It's not bone cancer. It's breast cancer that has spread to my bones. There's a very big difference there. Anyways, and so it took me I think 3 times asking him to repeat it for me to jot it down, the verbiage, so I could call my oncologist. And I either had an appointment with her just prior to that, or I had one scheduled already. I can't remember, but it was right around the time of my 6-month follow-up with her anyways. So timing wise, it's all kind of, I don't know if you'd call it serendipitous, but it's all coincidental. Everything all just kind of all fell into place in terms of timing. And I was due for bone scan anyways, so yeah, we scheduled a whole bunch of stuff, CT, MRI, or CT, nuclear medicine, bone scan, all that, and it came back with pretty extensive disease. It's all across my pelvis, and this is pending, further imaging and bone biopsy and stuff like that, but we know what it is. It's just a matter of where exactly it is. So across my pelvis, lumbar spine, some of my lumbar spine, some of my thoracic spine, a lot of it concentrated in my the head of my femur and down into the neck and a little bit of the body of the femur as well. Multiple ribs, my left clavicle, medial left clavicle, so kind of in the middle, and in my skull, so up in the sort of temporal area where I have been actually having a lot of pain, weird headaches that I can't control with meds. And anyways, so, and the head part is new, so seems to me, just based on symptoms, that it seems like it's moving quick, and it feels like all of this is happening very quickly. And so the plan is radiation, definitely, just a matter of deciding where to focus the radiation, which spots. Definitely in the hip, potentially in the spine, and potentially in the skull as well. Brain MRI to check for metastases in my brain, and surgery. Apparently, I learned that today. Surgery to stabilize the hip and the femur and all of that. And I am non-weight bearing on the right side, and so I'm on crutches, and that's a challenge right now. Mobility is quite important, especially when you live alone and have 2 dogs, and especially Chloe. She's very active lately. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I'm thinking, usually I go to writing for processing, and it's just how I cope. And I definitely, want to do a lot of that. But I also thought maybe a video blog might be cool. And I'll be honest, partially because I don't know how long I will live with this. But I don't know, I know I have a story to tell, and I hope that somehow through all of this, I can find some way to improve someone else's life, or I don't know, help another person in some way. So we'll see how all this works out. I have Mike, my special man friend, as we call each other. I have him helping me with figuring out what cameras to use and lights and, the whole bit, because I'm just doing this on my phone while I'm lying in bed here. So yeah, we'll see where this takes us, but this is number 1.